something happened in the end there that kept these guys out of that target. Was it a tip-off from Qatar? Was it Hamas having its own, intelligence capabilities? I don't know. But if these reports are true, and this isn't the first time I've heard this, the people that were supposed to be dead weren't in that building. It's not as though they were in the building and the building was struck and they survived. It's that they weren't in the building when it was hit. And to show you the level of sacrifice that entails, this was the home of Khalil al-Hayya, I believe. And I think his wife is dead. I think other family members are dead, murdered by the Israelis and with the complicity of the United States. We should keep that in mind, too. This isn't copacetic, taking out of combatants. This is striking the home, just like they did in Iran. Nobody talks about the fact that when we talk about all the guys that were killed on that first night, they were killed not only with their family members, that's their wives, their children, but also everybody who lived in that damn apartment building. When they collapsed it, 60 families died that night. 60 families of innocents murdered by the Israelis. And I just think we need to acknowledge what Israel is. It's a nation of murderers, a nation of assassins, a nation of people that no longer know what international law is. They are so selfish and so self-centered on their so-called survival that they're willing to do anything, and literally anything, in order to emerge as the victors here. They are murderers. They murder innocent civilians on a daily basis in Gaza and outside of Gaza.
Alex, Scott was talking earlier that the US, their intention now could be to break Israel. I just don't see how that could be the case, because I think Israel's winning on all fronts and kind of breaking all the laws without facing the consequences. And it kind of seems also like the implications of this is like, essentially does that mean Israel could strike anyone, anywhere, anytime? They just struck a peace delegation in Qatar. So where's the red line for Israel? So there's like kind of two questions there. Could this be the US trying to break Israel with where this war is heading? And number two is, where are the red lines for Israel after this?
Could the Trump administration be trying to break Israel? I mean, Scott puts out there an interesting point. I mean, even Scott said yeah, exactly. Look, it could be that the Trump administration is doing this unintentionally. I mean, we're not dealing with foreign policy and geopolitical experts either. We're really not. We saw it in the Biden administration with his team, and now we're seeing it with Trump's team. So these guys have these big master plans of world domination, and they see everything as a chessboard or a checkerboard or whatever they see the world as, and they're moving pieces around, and they think these are brilliant masterstroke moves, but they're not. I mean, what happened today in Qatar, if indeed the negotiators were tipped off and they're now alive, well, this boomerangs right back at the United States more than any other country, right? What happened in Iran, the fact that they tried to assassinate the president, Pezeshkian. Now we know that. The New York Times reported on that they tried to take out Pezeshkian. He actually got hurt.
I haven't seen that report.
Yeah, it was a New York Times report from, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, right? I mean, that was 100%. A New York Times report from about a week ago.
Well, it's not just the New York Times report. The Iranians have admitted it. He said he was in the building.
Yeah, but I say the New York Times just to, yeah, right. So if the New York Times is even saying it, then you know that Iran was telling the truth.
But they've never considered. Do we know if they've considered assassinating the supreme leader as well? Was that on the table? I know they've made the warnings.
Yeah, they tried to kill him, but they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
oh, wow.
so that goes to that goes. Yeah, it's like, I'm sure that there's kind of, even during wars, there's kind of rules of conduct. There's things you don't do. You don't kill the peace negotiators. You don't kill the leader of a country, the prime minister, the president of a country. You don't kill Zelensky. You don't kill Putin. The wars are fought on the battlefield. But Alex, where are the red lines?
There are no rules of conduct. Well, no, there are no rules of conduct anymore. And Ukraine has gone after Putin many times. Budanov has admitted it, that they've tried to assassinate Putin. On the flip side, when the Kremlin was in discussions about the Orezhnik and how to use the Orezhnik, and one of the reports that we got was one of the officials in the Kremlin said, well, we could use the Orezhnik to just take out Bankova, which is the head of the Ukraine, the seat of the Ukraine government. According to Lukashenko, he said that Putin said, no, absolutely not. He vetoed the entire proposition of using an Oreshnik to strike at the heart of Kiev. There are no rules anymore. It goes back to what Scott was saying. There are no rules anymore. This is the tragedy of what is unfolding. I don't think in the history of conflict have we seen the other side go after the negotiators like this. I mean, the ambassadors, the negotiators, these are people that have been considered off limits. You don't go after these people. And here we are in 2025, and they're going after the negotiators. Well, and they're trying to assassinate the negotiators.
You go after them when you're what I call man children. Look, Donald Trump, I mean, I shouldn't, because I'm trying to get him to do the right thing on Russia. So I don't want to get on his bad side here, but he's a man child. I mean, he's not a serious leader. He's a child. Look at the stupidity he posts about Chicago. What president of the United States would put out a Robert Duvall poster? I smell the portions in the morning. The Department of War is going to Chicago. Really? Department of War declaring war? Come on, this is insanity. No responsible leader does this. He has a Secretary of War now. I mean, my God, the stupidity involved in renaming this department. Hegseth is a man-child. He's a man who was never more than a battalion operations officer. He's now running the largest military in the world as if he's some sort of Mongolian warlord running around, flexing his muscles. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is Raisin Cain, a man who was retired for cause, brought back out because Trump doesn't want responsible military leadership. He wants a yes man. He wants a man child who's going to flex and who's going to do all this kind of stuff. This is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a president who is trying to write action comic books. It's almost like he's designing this as a comic book in his mind. Pow, bam, boom. This isn't serious. There's nothing serious about this. This is humiliating. This is embarrassing as an American. We need to be better than this, but we don't have quality leadership right now. Nobody is a quality leader right now. I mean, I love Tulsi Gabbard, but my God, is ODNI, why isn't she jumping up and down saying, no, Mr. President, bad move? I know you want to maybe save your powder for something bigger and better, but when is it the time for, where's Congress in this? Where is Congress in this? Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, is out there speaking, but, she's in the process of being Loomered. We have Laura Loomer out there, flexing muscles. She speaks and the FBI acts. She speaks and people lose their clearance. This isn't how a real nation's supposed to be run. This is bad. This is really bad for America, and it's bad for the world.
Scott, one other question is that most people forgot that Israel struck Syrian targets just yesterday. There was no war in Syria yesterday. There was no Druze community being attacked. So I'm just trying to, again, try to understand the end game. They just killed a few hours ago, potentially. They tried to kill the peace negotiators, the Hamas peace negotiators, just as Trump made a new peace proposal. Yesterday, they struck Syrian targets at a time when, they're supposed to normalize relations, at least take steps towards normalizing relations or stop, I think there was a discussion having a buffer zone south of Syria on that border, and for Israel to stop striking Syrian targets. I thought things were improving. I mentioned that to Tom Barak. He seemed optimistic. And then we have Lebanon, Hezbollah still being struck in Lebanon. What's the end game in the Middle East? What's the end game in Gaza? What's the end game for Lebanon and Syria? And even Yemen, we had the entire leadership of Yemen assassinated just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was.
Well, I was struck by something you said earlier. You said Israel's winning on all fronts. No, Mario, Israel's losing on all fronts. There's not a single front that Israel's winning in. There's not a single front you can tell me Israel's winning in. I would challenge you to if you think Israel's winning somewhere, you tell me where. They're not winning in Yemen. Yemen's still striking targets in Israel. They haven't intimidated the Houthi at all. They're not winning in Iran. Iran's nuclear program, no one knows what's going on there. Fear the worst. Iran has a ballistic missile program that wasn't taken out by the Israelis. They just tested some of the most advanced ballistic missiles imaginable. And they're telling the Israelis, if there's a round two on this one, we knock you out from the start. And Israel understands that reality. They're not winning against Hamas. Every day, Israeli soldiers are being butchered. The Israeli army can't mobilized their reserves. They're demoralized. They're not winning politically. The whole world's turning against them. They're not winning economically. They can't get investors in Israel because of the ongoing blockade that's taking place. They're not winning anywhere. There's not a single place Israel is winning. They're losing. So what is the end game? The end game is Israel loses.
I'll ask you this, though. The war started with Hamas getting support from Hezbollah, that everyone thought Israel would not strike Hezbollah because Hezbollah could strike back. They had many missiles that could strike deep into Israeli territory. Iran was not striking Israel, but everyone was worried about Iran getting involved. Yemen was striking Israel with ballistic missiles. And we had even, all these different groups in Iraq attacking US bases at various times. Now there's crickets. Hezbollah's, there hasn't been any rockets from Hezbollah towards Israel. Barely any rockets from Hamas. There's daily rockets from Hamas into Israel. That stopped completely. Yemen, once in a while, you see a missile or a drone fly there. And Iran, obviously, Iran's Iran. They still have their nuclear program, most likely. But we do know that their military capabilities were severely destroyed. I do agree with you.
No,
that
we don't know. We don't know that,
globally.
We don't know that. What military capabilities were severely destroyed? The Air Force wasn't destroyed. Air defense has been
60% of missiles.
Who says? Israel? Israel says? Look, I did battle damage assessments during wartime, and I'm telling you right now, on week 2 of the Gulf War, we had killed 64 mobile launchers when Iraq only had 19. So I'm just telling you right now, the Israelis have a propensity of exaggerating. It was Israel that asked for the ceasefire, Mario. You know that. You know Israel asked for. Why? Because they were running out of air defense assets, and Iran was not running out of missiles. So let's not pretend that this is somehow an Israeli victory. Hezbollah and Hamas, by the way, pulled out of the Lebanese government the other day, and there's a good chance that they will be firing their systems back up if that's what Israel wants. Hezbollah never wanted to get involved in this. There was no collusion between Hamas and Hezbollah. Hezbollah simply said, we will support Hamas by, distracting Israel in the north, but Hezbollah never took it to the next level. Iran never wanted to get directly involved in this conflict. They always said, and Hamas never asked them. Hamas always said, we've got this under control. Let us do what we're doing, because Hamas had a vision of sucking Israel into Gaza and letting Israel be Israel, which is what Israel has done. And now the world sees Israel for what it is. So let's not create artificial victories where there was no battle.
You don't consider the fall of Assad, Hezbollah stopping their rockets, and even talking about disarming if Israel pulls out. So Hezbollah said, we'll disarm, which no one expected them to say, if Israel pulls out to pass the Litani River or back outside Lebanese territory. And Hamas's rocket capabilities have been...
Hezbollah was created as a resistance movement. Hezbollah's only reason for continuing to exist is that Israel continues to occupy southern Lebanon. The Sheba farms have always been Hezbollah has always said, if Israel leaves Lebanese soil, there is no longer a need for the Hezbollah resistance. This has been part of Hezbollah's reason for being for day one. So let's not pretend that Hezbollah existed to get rid of Israel. Hezbollah didn't exist to get rid of Israel. Hezbollah exists to get Israel out of Lebanese soil. So when Hezbollah says, if Israel leaves southern Lebanon, we're done, that was their mission. That's why they transitioned from being a resistance movement to a political party. They want to be part of the Lebanese government. And that's why they're now telling the Lebanese government that if you insist on our disarmament while allowing Israeli troops to continue to occupy southern Lebanon, we're not part of your government. And then something big will happen again. Hezbollah is not a bunch of wimps, weaklings. Remember, Nasrallah was killed. Yes, Israel bombed a bunch of sites. But on the ground, every time Hezbollah went up against the Golani or went up against any of the special, they beat them. Hezbollah didn't lose a ground fight in this most recent conflict. Every time the Israelis went up against a dug-in Hezbollah position, they had to retreat. They got beat. This is the reality of Hezbollah. These aren't a bunch of little punk-ass kids. They are hardened warriors, just like Hamas. Ask the Israelis right now why they really don't want to go into Gaza City. Because they're going to die. That's the reality of it. Israel hasn't won anything. Yes, look, you expect to see buildings blow up when you have this American-provided Air Force and no air defense. I mean, my God, how brave do you have to be an Israeli pilot to fly circles around Gaza, pinpointing the targets where the women and children are trying to get water and bombing them, blowing up buildings. Hey, yeah, God, Israel's awesome. They're tearing down the tall buildings of Gaza. This is not a victory. This shows how weak Israel actually is because they can't defeat Hamas. any other way. They don't know how to defeat Hamas. They don't know how to defeat Hezbollah. They don't know how to defeat Iran. They don't know how to defeat Yemen. Just because Iran and Hezbollah aren't firing into Israel, they never wanted to begin with. It wasn't their objective to begin with. It was Israel's actions that created the necessity for Iran to fire missiles into Israel, not the other way around.
Alex?
Hezbollah was brought into this conflict because that was the way that you pull in Iran. That was it. The way I saw it is they had to get Hezbollah. They had to get this Hezbollah connection in there because that was the stepping stone, the bridge to getting the conflict that they have been wanting for 20 plus years, which is Iran.
They being Israel.
Yeah. And Israel, the neocons, Lindsey Graham, all these people. Yeah. I mean, this is the big one, right? Iran. And they were very close to Iran, but they're thinking, how do we get from point A to